We're back out here once again, and today we're talking about the 4 colors that are doing work for me and getting those tough bites as we move into the late summer. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. We got him. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I'm recording. Stay down, it's coming up. Oh, that's a giant, hun. That's a big one. Ooh, that's a big one. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing, and as we move into the latter part of the summer, those bites are at a premium. Every time we head out to the water, you feel fortunate just to get a bite, let alone putting a pattern together. However, there are some things that we can do to help get some more bites. There's a few simple tweaks, and a lot of times it can just come down to color choice. And the types of colors that I'm using, well, they're based directly on what I'm seeing in the water. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm mimicking the bait or the prey species, but I'm mimicking also water conditions that go hand in hand with the types of presentations that I'm using. And to that end, we're going to talk about 4 different colors that are working very well for me right now. These are actually the 4 colors that I take with me every single time I head out to the big lake. I'm not loading up my tackle box with a whole bunch of different colors because these are the ones that are continually doing work for me. And the funny part about it is none of them are green pumpkin or watermelon red flake or anything like that. The first color, well, you should be pretty familiar with it by now, and that's white. This old white soft plastic jerkbait, right? This is really doing the bulk of my work. I start out with white, and this is what I'm working. It matches the shiner and the shad. It matches so many bait fish and so many fry. So this gives me a great starting point. And a lot of times, this is all I need. I can use it in not only that soft plastic jerkbait, working it through the shallows, working it maybe just a little bit deeper in the water, slowing it down, speeding it up, depending on how I think those bass are reacting. But I can also use it something like this trick worm. This white, well, this is actually called birthday cake, but this is another great player. Whenever I'm doing something like a wacky rig or a Waco rig, this is the first choice of colors for that worm. And whenever I am getting bites, this is the worm, this is the color of the worm that I'm getting those bites on. So right out of the gate, white. It stands out in the water. If you've got a little bit of stain in your water, that white is going to offer a little bit of a soft glow, and that can attract those bass. If it's in clear water, it's resembling what those bass are already feeding on. So again, that can attract those bass. And this goes for pretty much every fishery in the country. White is one of those catch-all colors. It'll work pretty much everywhere you go. So bear that in mind. If you have a hard time whenever you're going out on the water and you're having shell shock when it comes to picking a color to begin with, try starting out with white and using that as the basis for the rest of your day. Now, the second color I'm going to be going with, well, it's just a variation of white, but it's enough of a variation that it's its own distinct thing. And that's something like, well, this smoke color soft plastic jerkbait. It's got that darker back and it's got a little bit darker body. It's not quite the same as that white. I mean, you can see there's quite a bit of difference there. So this darker color, I'm actually fishing much the same places, but I'm fishing it a little bit differently. This I'm actually going to be fishing in deeper water. And the reason for that is because a lot of times I'm finding, well, this actually mimics shad pretty closely. The shad in my lake, they have that darker line, they have that darker color to them. So something like this can really stand out. Again, not just in clear water, but it also shows up really good in a little bit of stained water. So I have that versatility. I'm starting with white. If I'm not getting what I want with white, if I'm seeing something different in the water, then I can shift over to something like this. And it doesn't just have to be soft plastics. We can use these colors across a wide variety of the different baits that we're using. Like this little Bandit 200, right? This little crankbait. You guys have seen me use this successfully in the past few videos. This is one of the crankbaits that I'm using to put fish in the boat. One of the things that I'm able to get bites on when I can't get bites on anything else. And a lot of it has to do with that size and that smoky color. It's very much like this. So this is something else that's mimicking those bait balls. It's mimicking what those bass are already going after, and that can really help. It doesn't throw those bass into a loop because it's something completely different, and way out there, it already attracts them and has their curiosity piqued. So a lot of it boils down to how I'm working it and where I'm working it. Like we said before, it's all about being in the right place at the right time, but you dictate where you're at. You can control the right place at the right time. And throwing colors like these can mean everything, can mean the difference between, well, getting a skunk and putting a few extra fish in the boat. Now the next color, well, it's kind of an outlier. It's kind of something that you might think is a little bit crazy, especially if it's a clear sky and we've got little to no wind. We've got some pretty clear water going on, and that's, well, chrome. This chrome KVD jerkbait, this is something that I'm fishing, and this chrome color is on purpose. I have several different colors of these. I've got gold, I've got white, I've got a clear one, but this one right here, this is the one that I'm going to the most. And just like before, you can see how chewed up, you can see how beat up this poor thing is, because it's getting eaten. Now, why is it getting eaten? Well, because in a lot of places in the lake, there's some stain in the water. There's just a little bit of haze. We've had a good bit of rain recently, and a lot of that rain has muddied up the water. So there is some stain in the water. It hasn't had a chance to 100% clear up yet. The top layers of the water, the top, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 feet, gin clear. You can see a nice way down. But as soon as you hit that dirtier layer, you can tell, because your bait sort of starts to, it's like disappearing into the fog, right? Like when a car disappears into the fog, that's what it looks like. It's gone, and it doesn't take but just a second. Now, when I move that chrome KVD jerkbait through there, I can see it flashing under the water. And if I can see it, then the fish can see it. So a lot of other baits that I'm using are getting lost in that haze. So I want something that's going to attract those bass's attention. And even though it might be a bright sunny day, even though it might be less than windy, I'm telling you, whenever that water's got some stain to it, a lot of times that chrome color can be just the ticket. And again, it does not have to be just a jerkbait. You guys know the classical leader. This thing, I mean, look at how demolished this bait is. I mean, the proof is right there. You've got the jerkbait that's all torn up, and then you've got this, which is all torn up. And this has got a real nice chrome reflection to it. Now, it's also, it's got that black back, so it's kind of like that smoke and chrome put together. That's kind of what I'm working. But even something like a Bill Lewis rattle trap, I've got a chrome Bill Lewis rattle trap that's also getting me bites. But this little guy right here and that KVD, those are the #1 colors whenever I'm looking to go a little bit brighter, a little bit flashier. But the last color that we want to talk about is kind of an outlier. It's when I'm fishing very deep, whenever I want to stay near the bottom, or whenever I want that contrast. I want to stand out against the background. And obviously that's going to be something like this black blue flake jig. Whenever I'm dragging the bottom, this is the color that I'm going to. Whenever I'm down there in the murky depths, even on a sunny day, even in relatively clear water. Because not only when the bass look up does everything look like it's all shadowy, when they're looking down and they're looking into that vegetation and they're seeing all that murk and all the shadows that are being cast by all the grass and all the hydrilla, this actually stands out. And it's not just a jig. A worm, this black blue flake worm. This is something else that I'm using. So it doesn't have to be just soft plastics. It can be crankbaits. It can be jigs. I'll pair this with a Googan Kraken Craw, or I'll pair this with a Missile Baits D-Bomb, in that color that's got that black blue flake on one side and the green pumpkin on the other. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to turn that green pumpkin down into the mud and have that black blue flake side. That's going to be the side that's poking up. And that's what I've been getting those really hard strikes on. Now, I don't know if it's the contrast, the bass see it better. I don't know if it stands out more to them, or if it's the blue reflectivity of those flakes that's calling their attention. But for whatever case, whatever the case is, I'm getting a lot more strikes whenever I go to something like black blue flake, whenever I have that hard outline on the bottom. And again, it's not just jigs, it's not just crankbaits, plastic worms, plastic creature baits, those all work very well in those colors. Something like a trench hog, something like a structure bug, something in that black blue flake has really done well. So none of those colors are what you would call natural colors, I suppose. Nothing like a green pumpkin or a watermelon red, but those are the colors that are doing really good work for me right now. And again, these apply to every fishery. This can work on your fishery. These colors are very basic, they're very common, they're not hard to do. These are small little adjustments that you probably have everything you need right now. You don't even need to go out and buy anything else. Instead of giving yourself a heart attack over the amount of colors that you have to try to choose from just because you're having a hard time getting a bite, go the opposite direction. Strip everything back, pare everything down, only bring 4 or 5 colors with you. You'd be amazed at just exactly how much of a difference that sort of clarity and that sort of focus in your fishing can give you on those really tough days. So there you have it. 4 simple colors that work so well for me when that bite gets really hard. Easy to do. Chances are you already have all 4 of these colors. Pare things down, keep things simple, and you'll be amazed at just how effective you can be every single time you head out to the water. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.